Hey, good morning. How's everybody doing this morning? Hey, good to see you today. Happy holidays to all of you as well. And like Dr. Kathy said, I'm Matt. I work with the consortium with the parent and our parent engagement side of things. And so we do a lot of things with our parents, a lot of our parenting, a lot of our teaching. We'll be talking a little bit more later on about our YouTube channel that we have going now for a while. And all of our teachings have been uploaded there. Today will be uploaded as well for our parents so they can engage with this session as well with us today. But anybody other than me ever had the money run out before the month did, other than me? Anybody ever done that? Okay, yeah. So just so I know I'm with some family today and I ain't the only one, that the 21st and the 25th comes and the bank account says it ain't gonna make it. But so that's what we want to talk about today, is just making your money last. And, we've all been there, right? And again, right, what better time of the season than to talk about finances? Christmas season, right, when we're all shopping and trying to get all of our gifts. And I know finances, I don't know about you, I'm just going to be really honest with myself. Finances is one of the things that stresses me out the most in my life. It causes a lot of stress. And finances can be scary, they can be, but they can also be fantastic. It can be fun, and it can be a great thing in your life. And I don't have all of the answers, and clearly within the next 25, 30 minutes, I'm not going to be able to tackle every topic that we talk about. But on your table, there's some notes there of just some guidelines, right, that we're going to kind of walk through. But I do know this, that a lot of times we think the issue is, well, if I had more money, I would have less issues. But I think it was the famous notorious B.I.G. who said it the best: more money, more problems, right? Come on. More money, more problems. I don't know about you, but I learned this early on in my life. If I can't manage $100, I'm not going to be able to manage $500. And if I can't manage $500, I ain't going to be able to manage $1,000. It doesn't matter, right, what the amount is. It matters how I manage it. And so I've just got 8 things down there for you that we'll talk about some of these things. And again, our parents will be able to watch this as well and engage them in this topic as well, because as moms, as dads, as teachers, as workers, as facilitators, this is something that causes stress in our life. And I think if we learn how to manage it a little bit better, it's not going to answer all of our issues, hands down, because life has a lot of other issues, but it will at least help alleviate some of the stress in our life. And I wish somebody would have taught, and I was taught pretty well by my parents, and they modeled and helped me out, but I even wish I learned some of these lessons when I was a little bit younger as well. The first thing I wrote down for you, how do you make your money last longer? Number one is just learn how to track your money. Because if you want to do more with your money, it helps to first figure out what you're currently doing with your money, right? If you want to be able to tell your money where to go, you got to know where it's going in the first place. And maybe you're here and you've got a good sense of your fixed monthly expenses. And I think a lot of times we do, right? A lot of us can know, like, man, this is rent, this is mortgage, this is my cell phone bill, this is my utilities. We all have those kind of things, laid down. But it's those smaller everyday expenses in life that have the tendency to kind of slip through the cracks, and is really what causes our budget a lot of pain. I'll never forget, it was after a couple years being married. My wife and I will be married 20 years in June. We got 3 boys, and I know I don't look that old, right, to be married 20 years, but I am. And or maybe I am. I do look that old. I don't know. But we got 3 boys. Got a junior, 8th grader, and a 6th grader. And so I remember when we were young, married, and it was just me and her. And then we started having kids. Then the finances, we were stressing out. And then my wife, came to me. She goes, "Hey, I feel like we just need to really learn how to track our money. And we're going to set up a budget." And we'll talk about that in the next thing too. She goes, "We need to track our money." And I remember us going and writing down everything that past month. Now, I'm going to be honest. I'm the money spinner in the relationship. My wife is a lot more frugal than I am. I'm the one that she's constantly like, why are you spending so much money? I'm like, I don't know. I saw the commercial. It looked cool. I had to have it. Like, that's me. And I think I get that from my dad. So like, I'm the money spinner. And I remember we sat down and we wrote down all of our bills, and I wasn't surprised about the mortgage. I wasn't surprised, about, the water bill, all of those things. And then she had this item that was a very large number. And I'm like, well, this item does not look like right. What number is it? She's like, what number do you think it is? I'm like, I don't know what bill that is. She goes, that's how much you've been spending on out to eat, like going out to eat all the time. And I almost like wanted to ram my head through a wall because it was roughly almost $400 that month. And I was like, there's no way. She's like, I promise. And like, so she showed it to me, and she didn't do it to scold me, but she's like, this is kind of like, this is where our budget is getting bled right now, is you just like to eat too much. And I do, I like to eat. And so it was at that moment, though, that we started to track our money, and we started like put a place for it. And again, I think in the society that we live in now, with our debit cards can be right here, and we don't use cash. All you can do is just tap it to pay. All you gotta do is insert your chip to pay. It's so easy, and I think sometimes it's even less painful because we don't see the money coming out so quickly. And so you and I, we have to learn how to track our money. Start paying closer attention to our spending habits, and look for those ways, to say, okay, what can I do to reconstruct my finances, which goes to the second thing. Learn how to set up a budget. And again, all of us are constantly bringing in money, and so we got to learn, like, how are we constantly spending the money? What does that look like? And it's not always the answer. And for sure, it is good to look for passive income or extra ways to make some more income, but it's not, again, more money, more problems if we don't learn how to manage it. And so once you've done the work of tracking your finances and you're tracking your monthly expenses, you may want to next then compare to, okay, how much money is coming in at the end of each month, and like, how do I now budget that? And again, budget, right? It sounds like a drag. You're like, oh, budget, like that means I'm gonna write my bills down and I gotta do all of that stuff. But when I say you budget, again, at that time in our marriage, and we reevaluate this probably once a year, my wife and I, we sat down and we began to budget. And it wasn't just like the bills. We know the bills have to get paid, right? They need to get paid. But we also budgeted like our groceries. Like, this is how much we should be spending in groceries. This is how much we should be spending in gas. We had a fun line item. This is how much money we're allowed to have fun. Like, this is our budget for fun. Because how many of you know we don't want to just like not have fun in life? It's nice to go out to eat. It's nice to go to the movies. It's nice to do all of those fun things in life. But this process of budgeting, it requires to take the grouping of all of your spending categories, all of your expenses, and kind of see where you're able to cut back. Again, going back to that story in the beginning when we first sat down, when I saw $400 like eating out, I knew quickly, well, that needs to be a budget cut in our life for sure, and that's on my end. And then you're able to look at some different areas and then know where you need to make cutbacks. The third thing is know that paying my bills on time is important. And I know that sounds so obvious, but again, when early on in marriage, early on in life, I'd be like, well, I'm not 30 days late. I'm just 10 or 15 days late. No big deal, right? And it's not. Does 10, 15 days late affect your credit? It does not. But you all know, because maybe you don't. Maybe you're better than I am with my bills. But then they have these nice things called a late fee, right? And then they have, like, sometimes your interest will go up on things. So when you and I pay our bills on time, it's important because first, it helps you avoid paying interest and late payment fees. I don't know if you ever looked at bills before. Them late payment fees can stack up quickly. I had a medical bill one time that I was trying to pay, and I'm like, I just cannot catch ground on this medical bill. And I finally called them. I'm like, what's going on? And they're like, well, sir, every month you're paying late. You're having a late fee every month. And I'm like, well, that explains why this medical bill ain't going nowhere, because I wasn't making no headway on it. And so not only will it help us avoid paying interest or late payment fees, it also helps us maintain a good credit score. And good credit scores are important in our society. Good credit scores are what helps us get a better loan. It helps us get better interest rates on our vehicles. It helps us get better interest rates on our homes. And the less money that we pay in interest, the faster we're able to pay off debts. And that's important because, again, as we pay off debt, then more money is available for us. And so know that paying my bills on time is important. Here's the fourth one, is learn the art of negotiating a better deal. And I know you're like, well, they're bills. How do you negotiate bills? Believe it or not, there are ways and there are certain bills that you can negotiate. Some of our recurring bills like cable, internet, definitely cell phone, those kind of bills are recurring bills. Car insurance, those are the kind of bills that are recurring bills, but they're not necessarily set in stone. Just 2 months ago, again, I told you, I have a junior, we have an 8th grader, and now my youngest son's a 6th grader. And so the rule in our house is when you're in middle school and then you begin to play sports, you're after school, things of that nature, that's when you need a cell phone, to let us know where you're at if you need a ride. And so my youngest son just started 6th grade this past year, got a cell phone, right? And I got my first cell phone bill, and I'm like, oh, we about to be sharing some cell phones in this house because it was outrageous. And I looked at my wife, I go, something's got to happen. Again, I told you, she's better with the finances, and she knows how to haggle more than I can. And so she picks up the phone, she goes, give me the bill, I'll take care of this right now. And I'm like, you go, girl, do your thing. And so she picked up the phone, and she got on the phone, and she just started talking to him. Hey, this is what's going on. This is what we have, and did not even realize there were things on that bill that we didn't necessarily need, right? They were extras, but we didn't necessarily need them. And there was a different plan. And so just from that one conversation, our cell phone bill got dropped by $120 just by having a conversation. And then there was some perks, right, that we weren't using. There was things in that nature. And again, I know getting on the phone with the cell phone company is the last thing we want to do sometimes, but it's just taking those extra minutes in our life. I don't know about you, $120 is a lot to me. It's learning how to take those extra times in our life. Same thing for car insurance, right? I have another driver in the house now, and when he came on, that affected our car insurance, but there was conversations that we had that was able to let it come back down. So we have to learn how to negotiate a better deal. It takes some research for sure. It takes a little nerve, right? Again, I didn't do it. I said, honey, you got to take care of this. But, so maybe it's somebody who's better in your house. But there's ways that you and I can negotiate for lower rates from some of those service providers. And many people don't even realize it, but also there's opportunities when it comes to medical bills to negotiate in those instances as well. My wife knows this very well because she's a registered nurse herself, so she understands the medical community. But there's ways even in medical situations and with hospitals and with medical bills that you can call, negotiate, and see the price change there. Again, I don't know about you, a little bit more money in my pocket and in my bank account is always a good thing. So taking that extra time, money is time, time is money, right? And so taking that extra time sometimes to negotiate can definitely alleviate some things. Number 5, here's the 5th thing that we have for you, is learn to ditch expensive debt. And another way to help your money go farther is to spend less on interest payments on debt. And now today in this 25-minute session, I don't have time to unpack this in a very elaborate setting, but my background is actually, before I started doing what I'm doing now, my background is actually a little bit in finances, and I worked at a mortgage company for a while and did refinances and helped people with their financial situations as well. But a lot of people don't realize the power of paying down debt. Now, I don't know about you, but I remember when I started that in my own life, and I'm like, I can barely pay my bills right now, or I'm just scraping pennies by just to make ends meet now. What do you mean paying debt? And how I don't even understand that concept of getting out of debt and paying debt. But a lot of people don't realize the snowball effect that it can have on your finances when you just begin to look at your debt, credit cards, whatever that might be, and they don't realize that reducing debt is easier said than done when you just choose the right debt reduction strategy for yourself. Your situation looks different than mine, and my situation looks different than yours. But there's power when we are able to look at those interest rates. I'll give you an example, higher interest. Some cards have higher interest rates. And so I don't know about you, this is what I did early on in my life, right? You get a few credit cards. You're like, well, I'm trying to get out of debt, so I pay $50 extra here. I'll pay $25 extra here. I got $10 left. I'll give $10 extra here, right? And so I kind of spread my money out. And then I would get frustrated because I'm like, I'm not making any headway. What's going on? So then what I did, what I was taught and what someone taught me was I looked at the smallest credit card that I had, and they said, start making your minimum payments on everything else. And I go, but then I'm not going to pay it off. They said, don't worry about them other ones. Make your minimum payment. Don't pay extra to your credit cards. Just keep paying your minimum payments. I was like, all right, cool. They said, now take all the money that you've been spreading out to these three things, combine them and pay it to your one smallest credit card and watch what happens. And I'm like, all right, cool. Well, within a few months, boom, that small one was gone. I'm like, all right, cool. What do I do next? And they said, okay, now take what you was paying to that little credit card, keep making your minimum payments every way, go to the next one. I was like, all right, cool. I did that. Just a few months later, boom, that one was gone because they were small. But then within a year, I saw 4 or 5 things, right, just drop off, or 4 or 5 things that was in debt gone out of my life. And now I have more. And now what I thought was just going to be like a little bit of money is now freed up to $300 or $400, right? And so now I have money that I can put in my savings. Now I'm having money that I can even put towards my retirement. Things like that begin to free up because we don't understand and we don't see necessarily all of the interest and the compound interest that begins to compound on everything. And as we start to attack those small ones and getting rid of those higher interest rates, like for me, for an example, was medical bills, and I was trying to pay off medical bills, and the gentleman who was giving me advice, he said those are 0%. He goes, that has 0% interest rate. So why are you spending extra money to pay medical bills off when you can be knocking a credit card off? And I was like, that makes sense now. And so look at even your own personal situation. Maybe there's a credit card, right, that has 6%, and then there's a credit card that has 19%. Like, look at those and try to alleviate and eliminate those higher expensive debts quicker. And every debt reduction plan is different, right? Again, yours will look different than mine. Mine will look different than yours. But as you begin to, and it's a good win. I don't know if you've ever done that before. I'm sure many of you have. There's no better feeling than taking out a pair of scissors and cutting up a credit card because you paid it off. You're like, I'm done with this thing. I don't need this anymore. And or my wife cuts it up because she knows I'll use it again. But it's a great feeling to get rid of that. Here's the 6th thing that, again, will help us and helps me still in my finances is learn to press pause on impulse purchases. Impulse purchases. I told you that's one of my downfalls, right? Like I'm really bad. I'm the worst with this. I'll see a sale, right? I get like an email and it says this is on sale. And I'm like, ooh, I've been wanting one of them anyways, or my boys need one. And so I go and I click the link, right, that I got to my email about the sale. And then I get the sale item and then like 10 other things that I saw, right, that I was like, oh, these are cool too, or I need that too. Or, oh, I don't just need 1 pair of shoes. I need 2 pairs of shoes. And so it's just those impulse buys, right? That commercial. Matter of fact, legit, just yesterday we walked in the house. There's an Amazon box sitting there. And my wife's like, what is this? And I was like, oh, I saw something on TikTok. I just wanted to try it out. And she's like, why do you do this? I was like, I don't know. It looked cool. I was like, we'll try it out. We don't like it. We won't buy it again. She's like, don't do this. And so learn how to press pause on those impulse purchases. Because again, right, if we're like, oh man, but it's just $19. Yeah, but those $19 adds up quickly throughout the month to like $60, $80, $120, right? Like, oh, I'm going to work and I know they got coffee at work, but man, I love me some Dunkin' and I love me some Dunkin' Donuts, right? But like, let me just swing through the drive-through and I'm gonna get a medium coffee, and then I get there and I'm like, oh, but that donut looks fire too. I might need to get that donut too, and if I'm gonna get that donut, I gotta get the bacon to go with it, because the bacon and the donut together, right? And so it's just impulse purchases that then the next thing you know, you're like, I was just gonna spend $3 and it was like $12.99 by the time you pull out the drive-through, right? But you get rewards. And so I was gonna say, yeah, you get rewards. But this is what I do, right? Because this is what I know, that managing finances can sometimes be a drain, right? And it's not fun. It takes discipline. So oftentimes in my life, I'll put a pause on myself, all right? Or my wife and I, we say, hey, we're going to pause this, for a certain season, and we're going to get to a certain benchmark. And then when we hit this benchmark, let's reward ourselves. Let's go do something. Or, hey, Matt, stop buying shoes for a while. You've been buying too many shoes. And so I'll quit buying shoes and, maybe for 6 months. And she's like, hey, you know what? You've been doing really awesome. Go buy you a new pair of shoes. I know y'all are like, really? I thought you would say that to your wife. No, she says that to me. I'm the shoe buyer. I like a nice shoe game. And so that's how it works, right? It's not just like discipline. Often also set up ways to reward yourself, to enjoy yourself. Because listen, we work hard for our money, right? And so we should also be able to enjoy it as well. Here's the seventh thing. I got two more for you, I think. Number 7 is learn to make lists. Another way to be able to make your money stretch is to make a list anytime you're going to shop. This is really good for grocery shopping, right? Keep it in your pocket, put it on your phone, and stick to it when you get to the store. It kind of goes back to the impulse buying. Again, I'll tell you another story, and you see quickly that I'm the issue in my finances, in my marriage. I'm not allowed to grocery shop anymore because my wife knows. She even gives me a list, and I go, and then I go down the cereal aisle, and I'm like, yo, they got Frosted Flakes on sale, and I can't just get one because I got 3 boys, and they smash them, so I got to get 2 boxes. And then I see Lucky Charms, and that's my jam, and so I got to have some Lucky Charms. And I know they're going to eat that too, so I need 2. Right? I'm an impulse buyer, and I don't stick to the list. I got issues, y'all. Y'all help me out. But when you stick to the list, she'll tell me, you did great. You got what's on the list. You see your budget, right? You went into Walmart. You said, I got $120, and I'm not walking out spending $200. Does that make sense? So not just make a list, learn how to stick to that list as well. Number 8, lastly, is learn to click unsubscribe, right? Learn to click unsubscribe. There was a study that they just did. It came out in June this past summer. And they said in this study, the average household has 4.4 active paid subscriptions. Netflix, gym memberships, Disney Plus, some of the boxes that you can get a month, the Butcher box, like those kind of things, right? But this is the crazy thing. Over 30%, which they actually found out it was 42% of those subscriptions were going unused each month. And they had forgotten that they was even still paying for those subscriptions. And this is what they found out. Out of those subscriptions alone, the ones that people forgot they were paying, right? Like my gym membership that I still need to cancel, right? Those kind of things. The ones that they forget, just out of the ones, and I'm trying to figure out what kind of subscriptions are they on. They said out of the ones that they just forgot that they were paying, that 42% said, I don't even know. It averaged anywhere from $100 to $199 a month getting wasted. Like not even doing anything. Yeah, a month. Absolutely. $100 to $199 a month of subscriptions that they weren't even using and that they totally forgot about. So even when it comes to those things, right, it's looking at your budget and saying, okay, what is it? Do I really need Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime? Like, do I really need all of those things, right? Yeah, I know all of you like, yeah, I need, that's my shows, right? Do I really need, right, whatever it might be, you have to look at those things, right, and say, like, what is it that I need and what is it that I want? That's the hard thing about finances, y'all. What is it that I need and what is it that I want, right? And this is the last thing I will say, when it comes to unsubscribing, is even as we spend money, learn how to keep your change. Again, I know we live in a cashless society, right? So not all of us carries a lot of cash. I still do some, so I got like a change jar. We got a big change bucket in my house that we use for a while. But with technology, a lot of banks, they will round up what you spend. So when you go to McDonald's, or when you go through the drive-thru, or when you go to Walmart and you're buying groceries and it's $121.26, There's a lot of apps and there's a lot of things with your financial banks that it'll actually round it up anyways and put it in the savings for you. That's a great tool to utilize with our society that can begin to have savings for you as you are doing things. Here's the main takeaway, and I'm done, because I know y'all like, stop talking about finances, you're not my friend anymore, and I'll be done. I already told you to cancel Netflix, and so I know we're not friends anymore, but here's the main takeaway, is it doesn't take a major overhaul of your finances, I promise you, it doesn't. My wife and I, we just sat down again just 3 weeks ago and reevaluated everything as we're coming towards the end of 23 and starting 24. Christmas was coming. We wanted to get ahead of the curve. A lot of people get ourselves in trouble because of one reason, right? And it's just simply this, and you've heard the quote before, many people plan to fail because they fail to plan, right? And so it doesn't take a major overhaul of our finances, but it just takes time setting aside and setting some strategies aside and saying, okay, what are my financial goals? And here's a quote that I'll share with you that I heard from another financial person, that this is kind of what changed my thinking when it comes to finances. When it came to getting rid of those subscriptions that I really like, yeah, but I really want those. When it come to like reworking my cell phone bill, when it came to, instead of going and buying that car that I really wanted, that I knew I couldn't afford, but I don't want a car payment, so I'm just going to drive this other vehicle, and it runs and it gets me where I need to be, and it's great. Maybe not the newest and the best, but it's a vehicle. As he said this statement, he said, learn how to live like nobody is living so you can eventually live like nobody is living. And when you do that, and when you get that mindset, and when you say, you know what, I might have to be tighter, or you know what, like, for example, my wife and I will go out to dinner. And it just happened a few weeks ago. We went out to dinner, and it was a great dinner. And we didn't spend a lot of money, but it was a good dinner. And you know what was so crazy? Then we get back in the Jeep, we're going home, and I'm like, why did we just do that? It's because she opens up her purse, and there was 8 gift cards to restaurants that would have been paid for our meal and then some. And you know why we didn't use them gift cards? Because we wasn't in the mood for that food that night. And I'm like, why did we just go spend money when we didn't really have to spend money, right? Learn how to live like no one is living, so eventually one day you can live like nobody is living. I'm done. Thank you so much for listening. Appreciate you.